Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, we are going to be going over what I believe to be the best mastery tier list for 1.0. Now, I really don't like tier lists in general, as a lot of them require context, and, most people never really give context. But my community always asks of me, hey Dread, what would be the best? What do you think is the best? So we're coming here today and we're going to be talking about a last epoch tier list for Dreadful for me. Like, what do I think is good? So, the first thing off, we'll go with Shaman. So, I think Shaman is pretty good in B tier here. Like, I think Shaman went from like D tier ish, right, to B tier with the changes to its mastery tree. Not only did it get a lot of Gathering Storm support at the top of the tree with Storm Bolts, it also got that new mastery, it also got that new threshold node that gives it a very large amount of mana regeneration based on your attunement. It's like 2% mana regeneration per 3 attunement. That is a lot of mana regen. Also, as well, with the new affix on two-handed weapons and stuff that gives you mana regen based on the prefix, it means that Shaman can now spam its spells like Tornado and not run out of mana. And I also think Earthquake is much better because of this. And I believe Shaman is definitely B tier. Shaman is one of the better low life builds, mainly because it has access to, of course, the low life support. It also gets access to the cold res per totem, which has insane synergy with Frostbite Shackles, right? And it also caps your resistances, which means you can put on more low life gear. So I think Shaman is a solid B tier. Now, let's see, what's the next one? Blade Dancer. I think Blade Dancer is a solid S tier, obviously, mainly because of Shadow Daggers and its existence with it. Now, I think that Falconer will overtake it for overall corruption pushing, but I think Blade Dancer is like a close second to it, as it is essentially the same package. It's just on a, like, I think it might be tankier than Falconer. It's just hard to tell because the less damage taken while low life is really strong, but also as well, Falconer has a really good defensive suite. It also has access to Falcon, which is a minion that can't be killed, meaning that you can kind of focus all of your stuff on defense and not have to worry about your minion dying. And there's a lot of reasons why I think Blade Dancer is very close to Falconer. I think they'll be very close to each other when 1.0 launches. All right, what's the next one here? Let's see here. Spellblade. I think Spellblade is like C or B tier. It's definitely a little worse than Shaman now because of, it doesn't have as much support. The biggest problem with Spellblade is it kind of just doesn't have enough skills. So it's kind of like Forge Guard in the way where it's like a melee mastery inside of two other spell masteries. Now it's gotten a lot better, I think, this patch with Frostclaw and stuff like that. So I think B tier is pretty good for it. I think it went from C to B after the addition of Frostclaw into the game. Now I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it, but I think Spellblade's definitely up there in regards to like everything, right? Because you can still play Flame Re Spellblade, you can still play, like Surge Spellblade, you can still play Shatter Strike right up to High Corruption. Like there's plenty of Spellblade builds to play. It's just melee in general is not very good right now, but I think Spellblade definitely deserves that spot. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about, I believe, is this bird right here. So I think that this bird looks very cute. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think the bird looks very cute. We're going to put it all the way at S tier here, right below, right above Blade Dancer here. Perfect. All right. So the next thing we'll talk about is Beastmaster. Beastmaster is really strong right now, mainly because of all the attack speed scaling. It has the defensive suite to keep up with all the other masteries, while also being able to pump out damage itself. The main reason why it's so strong is it has so much damage scaling that you can focus all of your gear on being tanky instead of having to focus on damage. So I think Beastmaster over the past few patches has solidly went up to A tier. It can abuse the low life stuff. It can do everything it needs to do to keep up with all the other masteries. It's just a little bit lower, to be honest, mainly because all the other masteries have ways of doing damage while they're moving or all that, while Beastmaster's main thing, attacking, requires you to be standing still, right? So I think that's what keeps it from being S tier is like there aren't many ranged Beastmaster builds. Now there's like ranged Beastmaster tornadoes now, right? With Gathering Storm and stuff, but the damage is a little delayed, so I'm not entirely sure if it's good or not. We will see in the future, right? The next one, Rune Master. Even with all the nerfs, right? I think Rune Master is S tier, right below Mr. Bird here. I think Rune Master definitely has what it takes to overtake the meta again, as it just has everything it needs, right? It has the Glyph of Dominion scaling still for the support stuff. It still has Runic Invocation, Plasma Orb, right? I think Rune Master is definitely still up there. I think what's going on is there's a little bit of a power dynamic, like there's like a kind of a shift in power where I think EHG specifically went out of their way to make Falconer, Warlock, and Rune Master stronger because that's kind of the power creep that they want to go towards. They want to update all the other classes to be at that level of power creep since, you know, they've made it the most, and like their feature creep is significantly more than all of the other masteries, right? Meaning that I think that's just what's going to be in the future. So like for instance, eventually when like all these other masteries get reworked, they will get very similar things where they can start pushing corruption in the same way as the other three new classes can do, right? All right, speaking of mage, we can talk about sorcerer. Sorcerer is like the small younger brother of Rune Master. Thanks to the new tech with the teleport plus meteor giving you a bunch of mana, that tech helped out a lot. Ignite Sorcerer is pretty okay. It's not like the best build ever. It's just kind of just a worse Rune Master, but turns out a worse Rune Master is still pretty good. So I'm going to put Sorcerer in A tier. I think Sorcerer has more punk than like Spellblade, mainly because you can just do all the same things Rune Master can do. It's just, you know, it's on a worse base because it's Sorcerer, right? The main thing that Sorcerer has over all the other mage masteries is the ability to do that mana thing with Meteor, right, and get like 30 mana per second. I think that that is a new tech that is definitely going to take the community by storm when people start actually abusing it properly. Now, that's pretty much it for Sorcerer. So the next thing I want to talk about is Le Toucan. If you don't know, Le Toucan is a meme from the Path of Exile subreddit. A lot of people were spamming it, I believe, in global chat for Path of Exile, and a lot of people got banned for it. So uh, we are going to commemorate Le Toucan by putting it all the way up in S tier, I believe, above Rune Master, because I think Le Toucan is much cooler than Rune Master. All right. Now that we're here, let's see here. What else are we going to talk about? Speaking of birds, we can talk about Falconer. I think Falconer is on the same tier as like Blade Dancer. It's like around there, right? I think Blade Dancer is definitely uh like up there with Falconer. I think they both have their merits. Falconer has a lot of defensive stuff, and so does Blade Dancer. So they're kind of like mixed, and a lot of their builds are also mixed. Like Shadow Dagger, Blade Dancer, and Shadow Dagger Falconer are kind of the same build. They just have a different mastery, right? Now the thing with Falconer though is it has access to falconry and stuff like that, which gives it a little bit of an edge. But then of course, Blade Dancer has access to immunity phases with like Lethal Mirage. So, and Lethal Mirage is a really good boss killer for late game corruption and stuff like that. So, it's really hard to tell which one's going to be better. I think we're just going to have to see and wait. It's probably going to be Falconer, mainly because it just has all the new spicy tech, right? All right, let's talk about the next one. I think the next mastery that we must do is, I think this one, Void Knight. Void Knight is, so Void Knight has a lot of damage and a lot of HP. It doesn't really have much other than that. It has damage and HP, and that's its biggest thing, right? And the problem is Sentinel is kind of in an EHP crisis right now where EHP on Sentinel builds in general are much lower than all the other classes, mainly because they don't have massive DR modifiers like all the other classes do, like even Spellblade, and now Shaman has a DR modifier at the top of its tree, right? So it's hard to actually abuse Void Knight when you get one tapped by like Osprixes and stuff at high corruption because you just don't have enough EHP to make up for everything else, right? You end up having to be like a block Void Knight, and that's a little awkward, right? So I think Void Knight's definitely like it's under Spellblade, definitely. Like I think C tier is definitely it's the coolest, it's one of the coolest class. If it, we're going by coolest, I think it'd be C, right? But yeah, so the next one here is we're gonna be talking about Rax. So Rax, if you don't know, he plays a lot of Diablo 4, right? And he's been playing last Epoch. He's been making some really high quality content. I think I'll put him in S tier, right under Rune Master, because I think Rune Master is a little bit cooler than him. I think, right? Rune Master doesn't need a blue hoodie to be cool, so I think Rune Master definitely wins out in the end, right? Because he does not need the blue hoodie to remain cool and popular. But Rax definitely is still up here. He's like more cool than the bird, more cool than the weeb anime class, right? So I think Rax definitely gets here, right? Speaking of other things, so did you guys like chewing ice? I like chewing ice, okay? I don't know if you guys like chewing ice. Also, as well, I've been having this problem where, like, I've been looking at my arms and I've seen veins like popping out a bunch, right? And I might need to like visit a doctor. Who knows? I think I might. So, due to these two problems, me being addicted to chewing ice and then my veins popping out a bunch, I think we're gonna put it in actually the worst here because I'm not gonna lie, like I just hate the fact that like I can see my veins on my arms. It's very uncomfortable. So definitely in actually the worst here. So the next one we're gonna be talking about is of course Lich. Lich, oh boy, Lich and Warlock are in the same kind of power struggle that I think Falconer and Blade Dancer are. I think Lich is still up there. I think Lich is just right below Warlock and all the others because having a second life with Reaper form and having access to Death Seal, the endurance scaling, all of that stuff makes it allows Lich to compete with the others. The only problem that Lich has is it's been nerfed so many times in a row that like it's kind of hard to compete with a class that's been nerfed like 20 billion times in a row, right? Like it's hard to compete with it because like what are you gonna like all the old cool really good Lich stuff got removed from the game, right? Like all the abusive stuff, like the old Death Seal, right? The old Death Seal damage, like it's got a new few toys like Chaos Bolts and stuff like that, so I think it definitely stays up there, but I think it's just right below Warlock and the rest of the masteries here. All right, the next one here. Forge Guard. Oh yeah, let's talk about Forge Guard. So, Forge Guard, the biggest problem with Forge Guard is it's trying to do a niche that it's currently not very good at, and it's trying to do a bunch of different things at the same time. It's too reliant on like trying to make other things work that like it's just not really good at doing, right? Like for instance, Forge Guard isn't really good at block. Forge Guard isn't really good at doing minion stuff, and Forge Guard is not very good at doing two-handed weapon stuff. So it ends up just being like, a cacophony of like problems that you kind of have to try to fix, and it ends up just being flat out just bad. Like even Void Knight has like like a lot of redeeming qualities versus like Forge Guard. So Forge Guard, it just gets all the way down here. Even Shaman has been redeemed for the most part because now Shaman is somewhat playable. The only problem with Shaman, I think, is one of its main skills, Avalanche, is kind of poo-poo. Hopefully Avalanche gets the rework it deserves, but we'll see. So for the next few things here, right? Let's see here. Oh yeah, Jerma. Yeah. So if you don't know, Jerma is a online celebrity. He's really cool. I watch his content all the time with my wife. He recently decided to start, working towards his retirement saga. So that means that he's not going to be working as hard as much as before, but hopefully he has a good life because I recently started watching him and all of his content, absolute S tier, absolutely amazing. Wait, Jerma. No, wait, what are you doing? Don't get.
Oh, shh. There's already a bird in here. He like found his way in.
Okay, after that little problem, we're just going to continue on. So the next master we're going to be talking about is Warlock. So Warlock looks very good, it turns out. It has really good strengths and synergies with like low life. I think Warlock is like going to go toe to toe with Rune Master in terms of bullshit. I really think Warlock has what it takes to outpush Falconer and Blade Dancer because it has the same levels of bullshit that like Runemaster has. It's just in its own acolyte way, right? With the low life scaling, with the ward stuff, with the damage scaling, it just seems like Runemaster 2.0. It's just the acolyte version. So I think Runemaster edges out just a little bit because Flame Ward is a really strong skill, it turns out, right? But I think Warlock is a close second. I think it's definitely a close second. The next one. So, all right, Druid. Yeah, Druid. So Druid here. Druid has I think Druid's really good right now. I think Druid is literally the tippity top of A tier. It's right before Lich, I think. I think Druid can easily be on the same tier as these guys, but at the same time, you're only ever going to be in transformations, right? I think that like Druid is definitely on the higher tier here. I think there's like some low life Shaman stuff that's better than a Druid, but overall, I think Druid has a better package. They have like Frostbite Swarmblade, they have like the AoE Swarmblade, they have Werebear shenanigans, low life Werebear, they have Druid, like just generic Druid stuff, and they have so much DR that they can actually play life builds and compete with some of the low life stuff. So that means that like Druid's definitely A tier. I think the only reason that it's below like Lich or something like that in Blade Dancer is because Druid doesn't have like Death Seal or Shadow Daggers. Like Druid is a really strong mastery with really mediocre skills. I think that's like the main problem. Like the passive tree of Druid is insane, but it doesn't have like the same kind of skills it has like the other classes have access to. That might change with Gathering Storm and stuff. We'll see, but we'll have to see in the future, right? So, the next one, taco. So, I like tacos. I don't know about you guys. I really like tacos. Recently, Perry, he actually banned a guy for saying he loved tacos. And I'll be honest, that was one of the worst career ending mistakes he has ever made, ever. I am very saddened by the choices my co host has been made. And I really think that Taco Man needs to be unbanned. He deserves the unban. I have no idea why why Perry banned Taco Man. Taco Man needs to make a resurgence. Seriously, I think Taco Man is definitely above Rude Master because I'll eat tacos. I don't know if I want to eat Rude Master, but I definitely want to eat tacos. So it goes up top, right? Okay, shoot. We're getting there. Necromancer. Necromancer is, I think, it's on the same tier as like Druid. It's the same kind of reasoning. It's the same kind of reasoning, but opposite. Necromancer has a poor skill tree, but has really strong skills like Death Seal and Flame Wraiths, but it has a bad passive tree. So it's like, imagine if you had the same skills that Necromancer had access to, but with like the passives that Druid had. And I really think that like Necromancer could meet the others. Now, of course, there is the meme stuff where you can do A-bomb and stuff like that, but that's generally a slow playstyle, and not many people would enjoy that. So definitely A tier for Necromancer here. We're going to hurry it up a little bit here. Marksman. I hate Marksman, and just because I hate Marksman, I'm putting it in D tier. I don't care, and I will not explain. All right. I think that's it for most of them. We do have a few more, actually. I forgot. So, if you don't know, Skibbity Toilet recently, like Giat with the Riz, I believe that, like, I don't know. I've seen all the millennials keep using it, and I'll be honest, it's right here. It's like right above it's right above chewing ice, right? But it's definitely below marksman because I'll play marksman every so once in a while. But Skibbity Toilet, oh, I'm not touching that shit, bro. Like, I'm sorry. And the last one to finish the whole tier list, I believe, is going to be Asmongold. And not just Asmongold, but my 100% mint condition, one of a kind, balding Asmongold NFT. I believe that this NFT will sell probably for like 200,000 on the market. These kind of photos are very rare and you can't really find them often, and I'm happy that I found the best quality one for this tier list. I'm happy that I have such a nice collection of balding Asmongold NFTs, and this is definitely one of them. this definitely one of them of all time, right? And I really enjoy it. We're gonna put it right below Jerma because I believe Jerma's just a really cool guy. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the tier list today, guys. Tell me what you think down below. With all that being said, this has been Dread. Off to go do something else. Bye.